Alrighty, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. Okay, so ready for this?
Sure.
So so we're not in a society, we're just in nature. Um, this hypothetical, humans are just in groups, kind of like say chimpanzees are. So you're in a group of like 20 people, and then off 10 miles away, another group of 20 people, and there's groups of humans, but humans have not gotten to building a bigger society yet.
Mhm.
You're out. It doesn't matter why you are wandering out, but let's say you're wandering. Actually, let's take you a little further away from your group. So you let's say you have a canoe and you get on the river and you go far away. I don't know why you went far away, but you'll get back to your group at some point. But okay, so you're on land and you witness an altercation. There are two humans, and one of them um says the other one, like, why are you looking at me like this? And he's like, oh, I don't know you, I've never seen you before, I'm not looking at you like anything. And the guy kills the guy that he thought was looking at him. So you witness this whole thing and you see that there is no purpose for it. It wasn't in self-defense, it wasn't for any cause. The guy's not starving and needs to eat this human. He just kills him for no reason. Now you have the ability to kill this person that killed another person for whatever reasons you want, and I'm looking for your actual personal reasons. Um, do you kill that person or do you back up and leave?
Okay, I just want to be clear on something. Did did the person kill the other person because they looked at him funny or because they needed to eat them? I thought I heard you say that at some point because
Oh,
I hope.
I was pointing out that it wasn't because of self-defense. It wasn't because of needing to eat them because they're
Well,
starving. Yeah.
you did mention eating them. I okay. I just want to make sure. Like,
Um,
okay,
so so yes, we are aware that at the very best case scenario, it's because he thought he saw a look, but really it comes down to you witness a murder where the murderer, well, there's no law, so it's not murder. The killer, did it for practically no reason other than his own enjoyment.
and you're asking me if I would just kill that person?
Correct.
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Um, uh, why not? And what would you do, and what would be your reasoning?
Well, assuming that like I'm still me with all my knowledge that I have in the civilization we're in, right? Or is am I allowed to make that assumption, or am I like, is it me?
Um,
Or
Maybe
so
you are. I might change it once I hear your reasoning.
okay, well, because I wouldn't kill him, but what I would try to restrain and bind them and take them before the community. Maybe bring our two different communities together, assuming he's from another one. If he's from my community, I'd take him back to my community. If he was from another community, I'd maybe bring some of my people with me and take that person back to the community and say, this man committed a murder. There's a body. I witnessed the whole thing. Um, there should be some minimal due process. And, if his people decide to exonerate him or our people combined decide to exonerate him, then I would go by that. I wouldn't want to set a precedent where even if I'm 100% justified, I know it,
Mhm.
everybody else doesn't know it. So I wouldn't want to set a precedent that you can just be judge, jury, and executioner. I think
Mhm.
I'm inclined to prefer civilization, the social contract, which the social contract to me is just you don't get to be your own judge, jury, and executioner. You give that over to a common authority. That is how you have some measure of peace and security in a state of nature. That's how you leave the state of nature.
Mhm.
But I would want to leave the state of nature. I don't want to be in the state of nature where anyone can
Yeah.
just kill, no matter how justified I might be. And I would possibly be justified in that case, but I wouldn't want to
Mhm.
set the precedent. And that's why I wouldn't do it.
Gotcha. Okay, no, that was a great answer, and that would be exactly my answer I'd give for why to leave nature, to why to build a society. In fact, I think the main reason would be protection from being killed, and then various different things, but that would be the number one. Which is why I wanted to strip it down to nature. So essentially, the idea would be that because you live in a group of 20 or whatever, there's no prisons.
Mhm, right.
So outside of the idea of being able to convince your group and another group and other groups to form a society, it's what would you do in this setting? And so if you took it, let's just say you took it back to your group. I'm creating the hypothetical so I can make up stuff. So your group's either going to say, oh, we want to kill him, or we don't care, either way. So they're essentially leaving it up to you. And I think it's fair to guess that if you went to his group, they would just want to kill you. Um, so let's just go out of the two options of you could kill him because of what you saw, or you could leave and just let nature keep taking its course without you stepping in. Do you see a reason to kill him or to not kill him?
I mean, so we're assuming that the body is already kind of cold, the blood is running out of it. There's no chance that my intervention would actually save the person, right? Like the deed
Correct.
is, yeah. I think it might depend that if it's just if the choices are leave or stay. Uh, I'd probably think about who did he kill. I'd make some assumptions based on the corpse and the nature of the injuries. Like, is it another man of comparable size and strength? Like
Mhm.
perhaps they were. Um, okay, you say it's just over a look. That's the only thing that I know. Okay, well, okay, and was if there was, I don't know if there was a fair fight, and he just lost, or if it was like a cold-blooded sneak attack kind of
We're
murder.
on cold blooded, and
Yeah, I mean
let's
these
make
things.
him the same size. So they're the same size person. They're both men. Um, and
Yeah,
let's say the guy says like,
yeah.
"Whoa, I never met you. I wasn't looking at you weird," and his back was turned, and guy had a gun. I don't know why in
Mhm.
nature we have guns, but we magically have
Maybe a
guns.
big rock or something, right?
What's
Like a
that?
big, maybe a big rock or a big stick.
Yeah, yeah. But either way, let's say there's absolutely no fair fight. Let's say
Right.
it was a bow and arrow.
Okay.
So he
Cold-blooded.
could, yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably walk away in that case, just because uh, it wouldn't seem worth necessarily risking my own life
Oh, let's
to.
say there's no, that's part of it. There's no risk. You
Oh,
can kill him without there being any kind of a fight. You're
any
just yeah.
any kind of a fight.
Well, I can fill you in on my reason, and you can tell me if you
Uh-huh.
wouldn't have that reason or if you like it. But
Okay.
so I
But
would
well,
kill the. Oh,
I
what's
have
it?
an answer. I
Okay,
mean,
go for it.
all the things considered, sounds like this person would just be like a deranged sociopath, and I probably would kill them. Now that I think about it, you
Yeah,
know, yeah, because who knows who this guy's gonna kill next just for looking at him funny. So,
yeah.
uh,
That no,
yeah,
that's exactly my reason is and part of why I took it down river and so you're far away is some people have answered the question saying that you would want to protect yourself and your group, which is fine as well, but I'm wondering even outside of that, in my mind, I don't want humans to kill other humans, and so if this person did it for no reason, they might kill somebody else. Part of it would be for myself as well, because I wouldn't want this person to ever come across me and kill me for a look. But I think without having prisons to put him in,
yeah,
it wouldn't be. I wouldn't want him amongst the
yeah.
earth I live on.
If there was a possibility of due process, now however minimal, I would take that possibility. But if there's no possibility of due process because there's just no way to get that or whatever, then yeah, we're talking about probably a sociopathic serial killer, and
Mhm.
yeah, take him out.
Yeah. And so that's a question that I ask a lot of people on my other philosophical political channel where
Mhm.
I like to figure out how and why to start a society. But I started thinking about it recently as I've been coming up with topics for my vegan channel, and I don't know if I would treat it differently with an animal. Now, in a society where we can make laws, I think we should make laws to protect animals, but I don't know if I would kill a person because they killed an animal. So now let's say the exact same situation happened and you come across a person and they see a deer, and they shoot the deer with the bow and arrow, they kill it, and they're what they can do, whatever, they're just laughing or whatever they did. You recognize that they did it for the exact same reason they killed the other one. Maybe they thought the deer was looking at him funny, but he's not eating the deer, and he makes that known.
Yeah, I'd kill him.
Would
Same,
you?
I'd
Okay.
do it because if you're willing to do that to a deer, you're probably willing to do that to a person too.
Now,
I don't.
now, let's say, and I know this is ridiculous, but let's say that you could like press a button and you see a list of things, and it tells you he has never killed a person and never will kill a person.
Mhm.
Do you think in this non-society area where there's no prisons or whatever, that it would be worth killing a human to? We can say we don't know if he'll kill other animals or
Go
not.
around, you go around exterminating sentient creatures for
Mhm.
fun, and there's no possibility of bringing you to justice because there's no society. Then yeah, I'd take them out.
Okay, yeah. And I might get to that point as well. It's just something I've been going back and forth in my mind. And I don't know if you're like this at all, but I have lots of conversations in my mind, and I figure out a lot of my thoughts in there. But sometimes it takes the idea of discussing it with another person to fully flesh it out. But yeah, so that's just the thing I've been kind of going back and forth on is at what level do I treat humans different than animals? I
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I know if there was a human and let's say a dog in a house, and the house was burning, and I had to save one, and let's say I knew neither of them, and they were both at prime age for enjoyment of life, in my mind, it's obvious to me I would save the human. But I don't know at what level I cut that off and go, okay, this is how different humans are from animals.
Yeah, I hear you on that, and I mean, I'm kind of in a similar place where this is why I avoid the word speciesism. I think I mentioned this the last time we talked. I've always had a problem with that because I do think that we are all inherently a little bit speciesist.
Mhm.
Uh, and I'm not saying that whether we should or shouldn't be is kind of a separate question, but I just think that's what we happen to be. So yeah, I'd probably save the human over the dog, assuming I didn't know either one of them. Like if the human was like a pedophile or something, I'd probably just save the dog, you know. I mean, I wouldn't feel too bad about that, but assuming I didn't know either one, then yeah, I guess I would save the human. For the reasons you said, like longer life, quality of life. But I mean, I make those distinctions between uh, different kinds of animals too. Like I don't necessarily value the life of an insect that only lives for 3 weeks over the
Mhm.
life of, say, a pig or a cow that can live for many years and enjoy a full quality of life. So it does not just. I reject anthropocentrism. I reject the idea that everything revolves around human beings and that only our interests matter, or they
Mhm.
matter to such a degree that we can do whatever we want to any other species. Like the whole, I don't think it's necessarily biblical. It's debatable whether or not the Bible really what dominion means in the Bible. But a lot of conservative Christians think that we have dominion over the animals. We can do whatever we want to them. You know, that to me is like
Mhm.
peak anthropocentrism. I totally reject that.
Mhm.
Uh, but do I think a dog and a human are the same? No.
Yeah.
I'm not going to really apologize. I don't think that's inconsistent or whatever. I don't think I have to say they're the same to be vegan, to say that, you
Mhm.
know, they have uh, value to me, interests worth considering and respecting, the quality of life possibilities there worth considering. Of course
Mhm.
they do. So anyone who wants to make it black and white, I think, is not being really honest or they're not really thinking it through.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, let me ask a question that popped into my head about this burning building, and then I'm going to ask one more last question back to our original thing. What if it was a 90-year-old lady that you knew only had a couple years left, and it was a puppy that you knew had 25 years?
Yeah. Um, that's
It's okay
first of
to
all,
not answer it.
the idea of either of them burning to death is horrible. Um,
Mhm.
oh, you know, I mean, I'd probably still save the 90-year-old woman, um, but I wouldn't. I'd feel really bad.
Right?
uh,
Yeah. My first thought was save the 90-year-old woman
it would not be.
because there's
Yeah,
maybe other she has family members
yeah,
and I don't know. It's tricky.
yeah. And I mean, I hear you. I think there are so many reasons why, and I don't even know if all my reasons for doing that would have something to do with like inherent value. Like, I don't really believe in inherent value as some kind of metaphysical concept. It's just, I think, first of all, there's just my conditioning, my programming. I think a lot of people confuse their inherent value, the concept of like inherent value or whatever, for just what they've been socially programmed to value.
Mhm.
Um, and I have that programming too, and it would be a very strong influence on my decision there. Like, you value human life, you save the human over the puppy.
Mhm.
Very strong social conditioning. Do I think that's metaphysically, objectively the right thing? Not necessarily. No, I don't even know if that concept makes any sense. I just know that the weight of conditioning would be very strong in that, and then also that even if I was just like totally objective, totally beyond all social conditioning, and in my wisdom, I judged that the puppy should live. I'd still be thinking about the social consequences of choosing a puppy over a human and what that would mean for me, in the eyes of everybody else. I'm just being
Yeah.
honest. A lot of people won't admit that. I'll admit that. Of course, I'd be thinking about that. Like, what are people going to say if you choose a puppy over a human, even if you feel 100% justified. The puppy should live, and the human can burn. Um, how is that going to affect you down the line with everybody else? You got
Yeah.
to live in a society with humans. You're not going to live in a society with dogs and puppies who are going to judge you for letting one of their own die. You
Yeah,
are going
unless you get out of the burning building holding the old lady, and then there's a
to.
row of like 50 dogs that were waiting for you to bring that puppy out.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine if that was if that was the situation, then you might consider the puppy,
Yeah.
especially if they're Rottweilers waiting for you.
Yeah. Okay, so let me bring it back real quick. I got about 5 minutes. Okay, so we're going back to the guy that shoots the deer that you take out. Now, what
Mhm.
if he's shooting the deer for food? You know he's shooting it for food, but you know that his group of 20 that live out in nature, no society, um, they have an abundance of food, other food. They could survive easily with no animal products, but they like animal products. Um, is it different now that you know he didn't do it in a psychopathic way specifically? He did it because he either thinks or wants the taste of meat.
Yeah, um, I think that's a little bit different. I don't know if that warrants that to me would not warrant summary execution. To me, though,
Mhm.
that warrant drawing a hard line and saying if you kill any sentient creatures on my territory, then I will kill you. You have been warned.
Oh, okay.
If it was neutral, open territory or their territory, then I would feel like it'd be in my best interest to respect the rules that they've established over,
Mm,
unless I was somehow willing and able to make war on them. Um, I would I would say, okay, well that happened on your land or that happened in open country.
mhm,
So I'm not going to start a blood feud over this, but I'm letting you know, I'm putting you on notice. You do that over here, you're done.
mhm.
That would how we have.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. So, okay, so if you could start war and you knew that it would just be a war of your group of 20 against their group of 20 based on the idea of they either need to stop killing and eating animals, or you guys are going to go to war with them, would you do that if you knew nothing else was affected? Like they wouldn't have people joining their side. It would just be your side against their side. Would it be worth the war if there's no society and if you couldn't convince them to make a joint society?
If it were over hunting, um, I don't think necessarily. If I found out they were doing something on the level of, well, they maybe wouldn't be call it factory farming, but if they were breeding animals and mutilating them and forcibly impregnating them and using them the way that we use them now. I think so.
Mhm.
If they were just hunting, not necessarily. And it goes to kind of the debate that I have today. Like, you get hunters who come on vegan forums and Twitter and stuff, and they want to make a big deal out of the fact that they hunt, and what are you going to do about that? And to me, the priority has always been ending factory farming,
Mhm.
and when it comes to hunting, it's like I don't approve of it, I don't agree with it, I don't think it's necessary. And in the scenario you've posited, it's not really strictly necessary. But at the same time, it's not as egregious as when it comes to factory farming or whatever you'd call it before we had the factories, but like animal husbandry or whatever. It's not as egregious. I'm not sure if I think it's necessarily worth going to war over, because hunting conceivably can be justified from a survival perspective, even if in a specific instance it may not be necessary for survival. It is something that is often done for survival.
Mhm.
So to start
It's
a war
it's
over
like
that,
perceived survival, like where they don't
yeah,
need it, but if they think they need it,
yeah.
then yeah.
Exactly. If it's like, say, part of their culture and it's deeply ingrained, these are things where I'm willing to say, okay, well, you keep it to yourself over there and don't bring it over here, or then we will have a problem. But
Mhm.
yeah, if they were like torturing animals, then we had the ability to take them out, like just end them. Yeah, I could
Yeah.
probably do that.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that last thing you said, well, the thing right before the last thing, where they're doing their own thing, it's their group, they're killing animals to eat them. It kind of makes me think of it's like lions eating zebras, minus the ability to rationalize. But that's what I love so much about the idea of having a society. You get a group together and you put in the best laws that are most important for everybody's benefit. But also, I think they should be based on morals, which is why I think animals should be factored into a society's rules. But if there is no society, if somebody wants to live out in the wild amongst other animals, playing survival of the fittest, like they're probably not going to do well. They're not going to survive. But in a hypothetical where they do, I don't know if I would have a need to go make them treat other animals well if they are if like so even if they don't need the deer to survive, but they're living out amongst them and they basically are acting as if how a lion's acting and killing their prey.
Mhm.
It's a thing I kind of go back and forth on. If hypothetically our ecosystem did not need lions, if it didn't matter at all, if there was going to be no downside for the most part at all, if there's no lions, would it be beneficial to take out lions because they cause suffering and if they weren't needed? So
Right.
it'd almost be the same question. Is it beneficial to take out wild humans? Um, and do we treat them different because we know they have the ability to rationalize, even if they don't live amongst us in a society?
Yeah, well, that's another one of those social conditioning things too, where we really do assume that people have free will and reason and are fully in control of what they're doing. Whereas, I mean, I don't know if that's objectively true. I think humans are just like most other animals with higher level. We have a lot more cognition than other animals, but does that mean we have free will? I don't really know. Um, but that's why I tend to just look more at what harm is this causing, how much suffering is this causing, and do we have a right to stop that? So what a lion does to a gazelle, well, it's bloody, it's bad, it's a mess. Is it compared to exploiting an animal for its entire life? I think there's a lot more suffering involved in that.
Yeah.
So if a group of lions were somehow doing that to other animals, well then I'd want to kill those lions. Lions don't do that. They can't do that.
Yeah.
Only humans can do that to other animals, as far as I know. I don't know. Maybe you could say a spider in their web, but still, they don't spend their whole life trapped in a web like little insects. So
Yeah.
it's nothing comparable to what humans do. So
Oh, definitely not.
if
I
humans,
just think I think it's interesting to test our levels of, you go
sure,
to extremes and see why would I do this in this case and not in this case. And
sure.
But yeah, I better hop off here, but that was a great talk, and
Yeah,
we should do another one soon.
absolutely. Take care. Have a good rest of your weekend.
All right, you too. Take care.